Anything three and above, like,
All is forgiven.
no. All is just
Yeah.
you are a horrible person for sneezing three times in a row.
Hi, friends.
Oh.
Host Derek here, talking with fans people, and I'm here tonight with Basement Overlord, aka Patrick, Susie, Jeremy, Spacey, Elsie, Anna, of course, our ever-present quiet INFP bot friend, and Carolyn, who I haven't seen in quite a while, if it's the same Carolyn as before. And this assemblage of long timers has made me want to ask a couple questions about how people have evolved in their usage, understanding, or prioritization of different models or ways of talking about things, in particular MBTI and cognitive functions. We could start there with you, Patrick. What's your how have you included MBTI more or less or differently in your sense of self and developing growth as a person over time?
So for me, like when I first got into it, I thought I was like an INTP or whatever. So I was like pretty neurotic when I was reading the expert sensing descriptions because it was saying like, oh, like you're really bad at expert sensing, and I was like getting kind of like neurotic about it. So then I switched over to ISTP, and now like when I first got into ISTP, it was more like reading these descriptions and not fully relating to them because I hadn't grown as a person as much. So like it would say like, oh, you're good at this, you're good at this other thing, and it's like I don't feel good at that. Now I've sort of grown. It's like, okay, I see how I'm actually good at these things they're talking about. I relate more and more to the type descriptions, and also I carry like less weight to them because I'm like, yeah, like you know, like this is less so dictating who I'm gonna be and more so just like portraying who I already am type thing.
Do you feel like you've gotten out what informational or knowledgeable utility it has to afford you already, and so it's less weighted because of that reason?
Yeah, like I've gotten so socionics. I reference sometimes, but really for me, Enneagram is the big one. It's the big point of growth, especially since I like, you know, um, have correctly typed myself in my opinion. Like like the really big points are the direction of disintegration. So when I go to four and when I integrate to seven, those are like the most helpful things for me. Like the Myers Briggs stuff, it's kind of just like, oh, that's cool. Like this is interesting. I think about it and type other people, but like it doesn't really solve anything because like if I'm a type one and I'm stressed out, I'm just gonna be a jerk or like just uptight. You know, that's just what I'm gonna be like. So that's what I should focus on. You know.
Hmm. So let's go next to Susie. Um, you've been long a voice of a very sparse affirmation of things, general negationary scowl, and and periodic acquiescence to things that pass your your scrutiny ultimately. So I don't really get a good sense of what your positions are, as you're not one typically to needlessly place positions out there for others to be able to attack. What do you think about this whole thing? Like, how have your and how's your thoughts changed over time?
Uh, if you have concrete questions you want to ask, you can do that. But for me, learning about this is more a framework for understanding other people and explaining why things have gone down the ways they have in the past.
Okay,
So it explains a lot of things.
and
Um, and hmm?
uh, do you find yourself wanting different things explained because of the presence of an effective exploratory tool?
But they want different things explained.
Well, it does explain a lot of things, but it also
Yeah.
sort of directs you. Here are some things that you didn't used to really explain a lot. You could explain using this modality.
Yes,
So,
that's true.
Um,
Yes, so that's another thing. Like when I understand other people, I can understand what they understand and what they don't understand, and what they care about and don't care about. Uh, when it comes to sensitivities, for example.
hmm. Um, how about you, Spacey?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking.
Well, I guess I'd like to know the extent to which people feel as though the utility and their weighting of personality based calculi has changed as you've been intermittently immersed in it via that being the topic of conversation here. Not necessarily always. Like right now, it's not really a topic of conversation per se, so much as it is the idea of it is a topic of conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Also, you're talking about like within the context of this room.
Well, I'm asking over since you were introduced to cognitive functions and began actively discoursing about it, which I would presume would happen probably at least half the time here, maybe in some Facebook groups or other modalities, but probably a lot of that
Yeah,
conversation
no,
would
it's
happen here.
mostly here.
So my question is, how has that caused you to evolve your thinking one way or the other about
Oh, I
abstract
see.
tools like that, models, or that particular model?
I mean, I guess I should start. I guess first by saying that I was a few years before I found MBTI. I had been diagnosed with Asperger's, but then I got INTP, and I've pretty much always been an INTP. There's never really another type that I switched to, so I haven't really gone through that sort of
You're not
self-exploratory
Asperger's.
process.
Is
I
that
know,
Patrick?
but obviously INTP explains me a lot better than fucking Asperger's does. So that's, I guess, one way in which it's kind of changed the way that I think about how people behave.
Yeah, I have an INTP roommate who
Um,
wondered if he had
yeah.
Asperger's or something.
Well,
Like,
because sometimes we read a checklist of INTP traits and it matches up startlingly closely with a checklist of Asperger's traits in the fucking DSM.
I
And
just don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you guys do. I think
yeah,
some of you guys think you do because maybe your personality, yeah, like you said, some of the traits reflect in the DSM or whatever the manual is. But like,
but regardless of that, I mean, it definitely has evolved into a very potent tool for me to not necessarily explain things on a deep level, but to get like a quick read on people mostly.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like if I can categorize this person quickly, then I can also quickly adjust the way that I deal with them before I like make any bad missteps or it makes it
yeah.
easier to read people.
For me though,
You have
like
a framework for it.
I like type people, a certain type, and then I think because I have role introvert feeling, I do kind of morph into what's needed in the relationship. Like, okay, they're an ESFP, so probably they're gonna bring out my introvert intuition. I'm gonna act more like an INTJ, whatever. But then after a while, I think what happens is my TI is just like, all right, like, I eventually revert back to my like normal self, and then that's probably where the conflict happens, whatever, that like
Right.
transition.
Yep.
Okay, well, I mean, just to chime in my own sense of how stuff's evolved, I think my relationship with the abstract tool has changed a lot in seeing Kimberly be impacted by it, and she's impacted by it a lot differently than I am. For me, I like to have it some sort of explanation as to why a person and I are having a difficulty seeing eye to eye about something or difficulty communicating about something. I want an explanation as to basically why are you being so stubborn is what I'm usually the question I'm trying to answer. Uh, sometimes it's, Eric, why am I being so stubborn? Or I guess we're both being stubborn here. I might understand why I'm being stubborn or have some explanation for it, or might choose to back burner that question. But either way, I like having an explanation that makes sense. Kimberly is doing this thing that annoys me for a reason. It's not just to annoy me. So the fact that she likes to, assume the worst, extrapolate off of any sort of bad experience, and assume that this behavior, whatever happened, is a bad behavior that I do over and over again. This is an SI Dom thing. I would find it almost like unfair and offensive, except I can see that it's what it means to be an SI Dom. Like, I get the fact that she's not intentionally not knowing the way that I know. She's non-intentionally knowing the way she knows. So it allows me to, instead of reacting to something, to explain it, which is a form of reaction that's less reactive.
Yeah,
And you
like,
can also explain it. Yeah. Go ahead, Patrick.
Oh, I was gonna say that, like, I mean, if I, if someone does something to me that I don't like, and I think they're doing it because of the reasons why I would do it, it's a lot worse than if I see, oh, they're just this personality,
Right. Neptune, what we're talking about is, and we're making a video right now, is you've been around for quite a while too. How has your change, how have things changed for you as a result of, or your relationship to, all the cognitive function, personality kind of taxonomy stuff, the ideational stuff? Have you cooled on it? Do you use it still? Is it embedded in such a way that it frames everything? Or what's your relationship with that? How's it changed over time? Not ready to answer. Okay, how about you, Elsie? Nep has balls of steel now. Well, Elsie's ready to answer for you, Neptune. That's good.
I hope you're recording in a quality so people can actually read it.
I mean, I don't know. Okay, the video is basically almost done. Let's see, Carolyn, do you want to say anything? Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Okay. So for me, I think it's been limiting. I don't really know how to explain it. I don't like to be put in a box, and I don't like to basically have a fence around me. I like to be open and explore other just other parts of my personality. I want to be open to exploring those. So I feel like it's just very MBTI is limiting for me.
Well,
do you have any opinions about Enneagram?
I think I'm a 6'5", and I think that accurately describes me. But I haven't delved into that very much.
The thing I like about Enneagram, because Myers-Briggs is limiting in some aspects in that it's a static description of each type, whereas Enneagram is more like, okay, this is what you're like when you're unhealthy. This is what you're like when you're healthy. So it's a bit more vertical.
I like one thing I like a lot about Enneagram is the way in which the numbers represent reactivity, avoidance, or withdrawal, and I find that to be that accurately describes my pattern of behavior, my order of operations. First, I try to ignore something. If I can't, I get mad. I react to it with anger, and if that fails, I basically insist on the correctness of my half of the distinction, which is an individualist kind of reactivity. So, avoid, react makes good sense to me to explain why I'm so reactive even though I'm so logical. And Kimberly, being a 684, is super reactive. She's triple reactive. So it explains why we fight the way we do more clearly than any ISFJ ENTP explanation ever could. It's like we fight in certain ways and not others. And the reason we fight the way we do and not in other ways is because it doesn't matter what it is, she's reacted to it before she's had a chance to stop and go, wait, let me consider. And chances are, if I've not been allowed to ignore something, then I've reacted to it equivalently in ways that are not compromise conducive necessarily. So it requires us to be aware of our own reactivity in order to have those things resolve successfully. Enneagram's useful like that. Any other thoughts from anybody about personality typing, about the extent to which their interactions in this community, for example, have affected their interactions with people outside of this community? That would be an interesting question to potentially address. Abraham, you got any thoughts on that?
I don't know shit about MBTI or Enneagram. I think I subconsciously know shit, but it's funny because some of the stuff I did read at a certain point kind of reflects in the speech world. I find that there are a lot of feelers and a lot of sensors in the speech world, specifically ENFPs and ESFPs. I haven't very much encountered any ISFJs or ESFJs, but ESFJs are extremely prevalent in the speech community. And ESFPs are extremely prevalent in the speech community, which is very interesting because the stereotype behind ESFPs is that, from what I've last read, is that they make good actors and whatnot. And so it's very interesting, but it can also be very chaotic because working with ESFPs is like, you can tell how they like to do shit more real time versus plan ahead or to like do shit before the deadline, so to speak. It's very hectic.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts about how interacting with this community has impacted or not impacted their interactions with other people? Do you code switch, or does it not require code switching?
Well, I think there's one thing that's interesting, especially for NTPs who drop in here, or STPs for that matter, is that little thing that's screaming in the back of our heads that's actually FI. Like we've had it there our whole lives, but we haven't dealt with it because our perception of it is kind of messed up in some ways.
So you feel
so explanation of that has been very useful.
So do you feel that it's impacted the way you interact with people outside of this setting by changing the way that you interact with their FI? Is that what you're saying? Or not? I'm just trying to clarify. I'm not sure.
Well, considering the composition of my family, it has impacted the way I react to them. Like my dad is an ISFP. I did not know what an ISFP was. I did not understand how that human was operating at all. There was just no understanding, but now I know he's just an ISFP. And that's the way they are, and that's how they operate. But more for my own sake, it helps to know that there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just not an SFJ or SFP or whatever.
Well, go ahead, Spacey.
All right. I guess I would say MBTI is generally maybe more understanding of other people. It's, I mean, I've gotten more understanding of other people with or without it, but it's definitely helped me be like, well, if someone's doing this thing that pisses me off, I mean, kind of like with you and Kim, like it makes me think more like, well, it could just be because such and such cognitive function kind of rubs me the wrong way, and I should kind of try to help interface with this person a little better. Like there was this ISTJ kid in my class who would have fucking infuriated me if I didn't understand more about how he thinks.
Yeah, it makes me understand how many of my conflicts boil down to my willingness to do a currency exchange. So
Right.
I can
Exactly.
I can recognize that the other person is making an effort to bridge the gap via their own bridging technology, and I can simply sit there and go, that's not how you make a bridge. That's not a bridge. That doesn't count. You're just fucking around. Or I can say, okay, well, that's what she thinks about my bridge too. But I'm more adaptable. So fine, that's a bridge. Okay, I'll play your stupid bridge. Fine. Yeah, that works fine for me as long as I see that. Even though it may not be my preferred modality of making a connection between the two of us or something, or causing us to bridge a communication gap, the fact that she's making the effort to change, to fix, to work towards a mutually positive outcome is adequate. That's all I actually need from her, is to see that she's trying a little bit, and that's good enough.
My SI reminds me that that guy right there, his name is, I believe his name is Nick, right?
Who?
I forgot what his name is.
Patrick?
Patrick, sorry. Yeah, Patrick. I said it right the first time.
You did.
Yeah, you said hey Patrick. Yeah.
I saw some videos on this guy on the YouTube channel. There's a whole, I think there's a whole section.
I have a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah. Patrick? Yeah, Patrick has a channel, and he's got a playlist.
I took down a shit ton of videos on my channel.
I heard Patrick gets all the chicks. Is that true?
That's what I heard too.
Patrick?
Maybe if you keep saying it, it'll come true. So I'm not gonna deny that.
Or most of them. It's just most of the chicks.
Most of them.
An overwhelming majority.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, anyway,
well.
that seems like a good ending point for this video. Thank you all for your thoughts. Any last thoughts that anybody wants to chime in, feels need to say that they didn't get a chance to say? Okay, I think that's an interesting topic. After all, these people, I've known them for a long time now. It sort of creeps up on you, and all of a sudden, you've been friends for over a year, or maybe even longer, and it's an interesting phenomenon. Obviously, we've been talking about a lot of different abstractions, but cognitive function seems to be a sort of official theme of stuff, and I think people have an ever-evolving relationship with the idea of such models and the specifics of such models as well. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.